I live alone. On a rainy night at 11, a stranger called. Are you the owner of the XXX license plate? Your car window is open. It's raining hard. I thanked them repeatedly and was about to go downstairs, but work held me back. 10 minutes later, the phone rang again. The moment it was answered, another man's voice came from the other end. Wait, are you talking to her like that? Then the original person came back on. Hey, why haven't you come down yet? The car is already soaked. I suddenly felt that something was a little off. The phone rang again. It was the same number. I answered, intending to explain. The moment the call went through, there was another man's voice on the other end. Wait a minute, you can't talk to her like that. The voice on the line cut off abruptly. How could there be a man? After a while, the female voice from before returned. Hey, why haven't you come down yet? The car's getting soaked. The background on the call was still the loud patter of rain. This time, her voice sounded a little impatient. Is she still by my car? The clock hand in the living room clicked. More than 10 minutes had passed since the first call, and judging by the sound, she wasn't the only one by the car. I suddenly felt an odd, inexplicable sense that something was wrong. Something jarringly off snagged one of my nerves. I calmed myself and dug out the property management's number. I planned to call them and ask them to go check what was going on. All the while, I dealt with the person on the phone. Oh, I just found the keys and was about to go down. She asked tentatively, Isn't the rain heavy out there? A girl like you being out so late, isn't that unsafe? She edited the text to the property manager and tapped send. At that moment, the rain on the other end of the line briefly diminished. It was as if someone had covered the microphone. When she spoke again, the woman's voice on the other end of the line sounded a little strange. I'm waiting for someone downstairs in this building, and I happened to see your car window was open. You hadn't come down for so long, so I thought I'd remind you one more time. A man's voice spoke on the other end of the phone. You're standing here. No wonder I didn't see you earlier. You've been waiting long, right? Let's go. I listened quietly to the voice on the phone, and there really were footsteps approaching from a distance. At that moment, the property management also sent a message saying they were on their way over. The knot on my chest slowly began to loosen. The girl on the other end of the line was saying goodbye too. I'll head out first. Remember to come down and close the car windows. Okay, thanks. Maybe it really was just a misunderstanding. After hanging up, I called the property management office, intending to ask about the situation. But after a long time, no one answered. I had to call the personal number of an administrator I knew at the property. He picked up quickly. Hey, I'm here already. It really wasn't closed. The rain got in everywhere. Come down and take a look. I must be suffering from persecution mania. Maybe they really mean well. Then wait for me there a moment. I'll come down right now. Just as I was about to open the door, the phone rang again. It was the landline number for the property management office. Hello? Ma'am, you just called. Can I help you with something? I smiled and said, it's nothing. I think I left my car window open. I asked your Kevin to go check on it for me. There was a brief silence on the other end. Then he asked me a question. Ma'am, the Kevin you're talking about, is it Kevin? I was puzzled. Yes, it's him. He's still out there waiting for me. Kevin quit last week. The rain outside grew heavier. The pattering rain was accompanied by the wind's howls, rattling the window panes. The hand holding the phone trembled slightly. So, how did he say he wanted to check on me? Her voice grew smaller and smaller, the last words seeming to catch in her throat, tightening there. Though it was a question, I already had a premonition in my heart, but I really didn't want to believe it. Ma'am, don't worry. I'll come to your home now and go with you to take a look. How does that sound? The voice on the handset was steady and strong. In that instant, I felt like someone drowning clutching at a life-saving straw. All right, you come over. My place is Building 3, Apartment 304. I'll be waiting. After hanging up, I went to the entrance and sat down, listening to the sounds outside the door. Every tiny noise immediately set one of my hypersensitive nerves on edge. At this moment, I began to seethe, regretting why I had bought into this new complex. Its occupancy rate was so low. If there were more people around, would it be this quiet? Sitting at home, the more I waited, the more uneasy I became. I couldn't help but wonder, since this Kevin wasn't even a security guard anymore, Why did he still agree to go check the car window for me? Even the security guard, could he be fake too? A very unsettling thought suddenly occurred to me. If that man and woman just now really had designs on me, then Kevin was very likely in on it with them. Staring out into the night, I couldn't help but imagine the worst about him. Suddenly, the phone rang. It was Kevin. My heart clenched painfully, my body tensing with it. He still didn't know that I already knew he had resigned. So what exactly does he intend to do? After hesitating for a long time, I answered the call. Hey, you still not downstairs? The rain's really heavy. Kevin's voice was as usual. The surroundings were very quiet. So quiet that I could even detect a trace of unusual excitement in his voice. I steadied my voice. Kevin, sorry to trouble you so late, but why don't you go home first? I can't go out now. I have something to take care of. Ah, keep getting soaked then. You might not be able to drive this car tomorrow. That head paused for a moment. As long as a century. What are you worrying about while you're here? He laughed. He laughed with extreme restraint, but I heard it anyway. In that instant, I had a premonition. My suspicions were all true. What are you going to do? I forced my voice to stay calm. He didn't answer. His laughter faded. His voice returned to a calmness that seemed utterly innocent. How about this? I'll go get the key from upstairs and come down to close the window for you. Okay. He's coming up? He knows where I live? A rapid flurry of emotions washed over him. They all landed precisely on my most sensitive nerves. I quickly refused. No need, it's so late. I'm not driving tomorrow. I'll take my boyfriend's car. I deliberately fabricated the image of a man, hoping that whatever he was thinking would stop immediately. Kevin laughed again. His laughter, in the night, sounded a little uncanny. The voice was hollow, as if it still carried an echo. I remember Building 3, 301, 302, 304. You bought 304 yourself, right? So he really knew. Knock, knock, knock. Sudden knocking came from outside the door. Is he here? Startled, I jumped up from the shoe bench. I lost my grip on the phone. It slipped and fell to the floor, rolling all the way to the door. Hey, what was that noise? Knock, knock, knock. Open up. Two voices braided together, making my head buzz. For a moment, my legs went weak, a sharp, tingling numbness racing up my spine to the top of my head. I could hardly stay standing. I had no strength left to spar with Kevin. I've still got things to do. I have to go. Sorry to trouble you. I came up. The call ended. The voices in my ears vanished all at once. I sank to the floor, drained. All over the world, only the ticking of the clock mixed with the beating of my heart. Knock, knock, knock. Property management. Ma'am, please open the door. Another wave of panic. I dare not make a sound. After calming myself for a moment, I tiptoed over and pressed my eye to the peephole to look outside. But the people outside the door were too close. All I could see was a blur of grayish yellow. Are you from the property management? A voice outside answered. Yes, ma'am. We're here to accompany you to check the car window. The people outside the door stepped back 2 paces, and I could see the full uniform. Only then did the tight knot in my chest begin to loosen. No matter what that Kevin or the man and woman were thinking, I didn't believe that if he went down with 2 men, he'd have any scheme left. I took my umbrella and prepared to open the door. Before opening it, on an odd impulse, I glanced once more through the peephole. That single glance suddenly made me feel that something was wrong. The rain outside was pouring down so hard, yet they weren't wet at all. It looked as if they just changed their clothes inside the building. I immediately stopped reaching for the doorknob and leaned against the doorframe. He took 2 deep breaths. After a long while, he calmed his tone. Oh, wait a moment. I'll finish changing my clothes right away. He walked to the bathroom and dialed the property management office again. This time the line connected quickly. The background was very noisy. Hello, haven't you arrived yet? Hello. Oh, the lady from before, please wait a moment. We suddenly have an emergency here and maybe a little late getting over. The security guard isn't coming. Who is outside that door? My heart, wrenched in an instant, twisted into a knot. It pounded uncontrollably, as if trying to burst out of my chest. Suddenly, the knocking at the door sounded again. The voice sounded a little impatient. Miss, how much longer? Can you hurry up? That voice, it sounded like Kevin. I pushed myself up and went to the door. Who are you? I've already called the police. Outside, it suddenly went quiet. After waiting a long time, there wasn't a sound. They've already gone? I stood up and pressed my face to the peephole, but someone seemed to have blocked it. All I saw was utter darkness. I couldn't see, and I couldn't hear. Fear clung to me like a shadow, ready at any moment to swallow me whole. A little light appeared outside the peephole. Gone for real? I leaned in. Suddenly, a huge eyeball pressed right up against the door. The person across from me was looking at me too. I suddenly remembered something I'd read online. People outside use the light and shadow in the peephole to judge whether there's anyone inside. They knew I was pressed against the door, looking at them too. We're from the property management, ma'am. A voice came from the other side. Pressed against the door, the sound buzzed and rasped. In the silent night, it seemed even more hollow and terrifying. They were still making excuses, but I was basically certain the person outside wasn't Kevin. At that moment, how I wished the neighbors would find it noisy and drive them off with a scolding. But there was no such luck. Instead, the keypad on the door outside began to beep. They were trying to pick the lock. Beep, beep, beep. Wrong code. Beep, beep, beep. The mechanical girl repeated the announcement, wrong code, over and over. It was fraying my nerves to the extreme. Damn it, what is the password? It wouldn't open, and the people outside were starting to get frantic. They were like wolves that wouldn't give up until they got their meat. Fixating on me, the prey trapped in a cage. There are a million possible combinations for the lock on the door between us. They can be wrong countless times. I cannot be wrong even once. I can no longer sit and wait for death. Wiping away a tear, I head to the kitchen, pull out a knife, and clutch it tightly in my palm. Shout for the police at the door. Hello, is this 110? There are some strangers knocking at my door outside. They're even trying to break it down. Could you please come and check? A commotion arose outside. Then came more frequent attempts to test the lock codes. And there were even sounds of prying at the door. Beep, 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 wrong password. Bang, 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 open the door. They heard the alarm and grew even more frenzied. I put the phone on speaker and turned the volume all the way up. Hello, please tell me your address. We'll send someone right away. I'm at XXX, hurry. They're prying my lock. Okay, don't be afraid. Don't hang up. We'll be there within 5 minutes. I wiped my tears, crouched by the door, and listened to the sound of the officers dispatching from the phone. He tried the door a few more times outside, then finally gave up. Bang! They were kicking the door. The door panel shook violently. The voice carried unusually far in the silent night. Finally, a woman's voice. Bitch, just you wait. It was the same girl who'd called me at the very beginning. She was here too. The police arrived shortly thereafter. The moment the main door opened, the world outside was already calm and still. There weren't even any footprints on the door, as if everything that had happened tonight were just my imagination. But because the building surveillance had been sabotaged, there was no footage of anyone at all. Here's my private number. Call me directly next time if anything comes up. I suggest you find another place to stay for a while. A bearded, middle-aged policeman handed me a number. The policeman left. After a long while, I turned on every light in the house and cranked the TV volume up to the max. It took me a long time to calm down before I remembered to call my best friend. My night owl friend sounded completely awake, not the least bit sleepy. Hearing that only made her even more startled awake. What? Wait for me. I'm coming over now. I glanced out at the pitch-black night sky. Wait until dawn. It's not safe right now. All right, then I'll keep you company. I'm sorry I asked you to come to my place and ended up putting you in such danger. My close friend felt guilty. 6 months ago, I had a fight with my mom, and my best friend suggested I come live in her city. Changing cities and jobs, I was able to settle down thanks to her. I hurried to reassure her. You don't have to apologize. With so many tangled things, I wouldn't know what to do without you. Surrounded by light and my friend's voice, I slowly regained my sense of security. I sat on the sofa all night. The sky finally brightened. I heard people moving downstairs, and my best friend came to my side. In that moment, I truly felt alive again. My best friend made me porridge and comforted me. If you survive a great disaster, good fortune will surely follow. Sipping the porridge, I couldn't stop thinking about one thing. To verify the final suspicion in my mind, I went downstairs and found my car. The car windows were indeed shut tight. Not a single crack or gap to be found. Looking up at the sunlight overhead, I felt the lingering fright of someone who just survived a disaster. I asked my boss for a day off. Then rest at home and make sure you hand your work over properly. The female boss's magnanimity, tolerance, and respect gave me a small warmth. Thank you, boss. No need to thank me. I also have a daughter about your age. Take good care of yourself. Mom, it's time for the injection. On the other end of the line, a sweet, somewhat naive female voice was urging. The voice was somewhat familiar, as if I'd heard it somewhere before. After a long pause, it finally came back to me. 6 months ago, when I first started, the boss was on the phone in the office, and it was that voice on the other end. At the time, a colleague had mentioned that the boss wasn't in the best health and occasionally had to be hospitalized. I couldn't afford to waste any more time. All right, boss, you too. Wishing you a speedy recovery. When I looked up, I was already at the gatehouse. I found the gatehouse in utter chaos. A short distance away, 2 police cars were parked by the building, and a police line had been strung up. A few security guards in drab gray-yellow uniforms were watching. At first glance at that uniform, my heart tightened a little. Holding my best friend's arm, summoning my courage, I stepped forward to ask, "I'm the one who had you keep an eye on my car window last night. What exactly happened last night?" An elderly security guard suddenly turned back and pulled me to one side. His face was all conspiratorial. "I remember you. Good thing you didn't go out last night." His voice was a little agitated, and his expression showed clear fear. Seeing him in that uniform, I took a few steps back to put some distance between us. "What's wrong?" My heart started pounding. Could there be someone else besides me? He turned and glanced at the police car parked behind him. There was a homicide in the residential complex. It was true. A girl who lived alone was robbed, raped, and murdered after someone broke into her home. At that moment, every hair on my body stood on end. My legs went weak, barely able to support me. If not for, I couldn't even bear to think about the consequences. My close friend patted my back lightly. "Don't be afraid. It's all over now. I'm here with you." A police officer noticed us and walked over. "You were the one who called the police yesterday, right? Come back to the station with us and give a statement." After resting for a few days, I returned to work. Life seemed to have returned to calm, yet I still woke up startled at midnight. Over and over I replayed that night's call and the woman's final words. The female boss saw I wasn't myself and called me into her office. "You didn't tell your parents out of your own reasons, but have you considered it from their perspective? They would surely want to know. They all want to protect you. They must all be very worried about you." I wiped my eyes. "Thank you." Before she left, she recommended a psychologist to me. I saw the psychologist a few times and seemed to get a bit better. But in the days that followed, I always felt like countless eyes were watching me. And that one line I kept deliberately ignoring but could never stop seeing. The last thing that woman said, "Wait for me." The media frenzy also gradually began to ferment online. They all, without exception, mentioned the words population and organs. Some eyewitnesses even said they saw the girl's corpse. That girl's body was sunken in. Her body had been hollowed out. For a time, rumors flew everywhere. During that period, the police took my statement a few times. The last time, I couldn't help but ask directly, "Are they, by any chance, traffickers?" The middle-aged policeman lifted his teacup, took a sip, and leaned back in his chair, studying me for a long while. About right. His gaze was sharp, as if he could see into a person's heart. At the same time, there was a clear sense of denial. That was another possibility. Organs. This time he didn't deny it. He set the glass down. "According to the current investigation, no link has been found between you and the victim. The killer may have acted at random, so don't dwell on it all the time. It's all over now, understand? If anything comes up, call me anytime, got it? My phone is on 24 hours a day." His words were not gentle, but those few sentences seemed more useful than a psychologist's counsel. After he finished speaking, the middle-aged policeman was called away. A young policewoman was taking my statement. That sense of pressure vanished instantly. She smiled and said to me, "Don't be nervous. Old Zhao used to be a detective. He looks at everyone like they're suspects. The statement didn't go smoothly. I couldn't be of much help. Out of fear, I really couldn't remember his face. All I could do was give them Kevin's phone number. The number had already been disconnected. Those people had melted into the crowd in a single night, disappearing without a trace. They might have become the pancake vendor downstairs, or perhaps disguised themselves as a kindergarten teacher. At dawn, everyone became innocent. Later, I asked the police whether that security guard named Kevin, knowing I lived alone, had randomly picked me. The police said the investigation was roughly like that. But when my paper medical report arrived, I only then realized that the police had actually been hiding things from me all along, because they had been watching me even before I moved into this housing complex. The day we received the paper medical reports, the colleague in charge of handing them out noticed something amiss. "Rebecca, what a lovely name. Here's your report." I accepted it with thanks, and the report suddenly slipped to the floor. The page with the blood type had somehow flipped up. I felt a little tense because I'm Rh negative, the so-called panda blood. The caution etched into my bones makes me have to guard myself against others. I wanted to hurry and pick it up, but a coworker beat me to it. The moment he picked it up, he was indeed stunned. He saw it. I saw his hanging ID badge. Human Resources, Ethan. I remembered that he was the one who had conducted my interview and processed my onboarding. "What's the matter?" I tested him. He picked it up and handed it to me. "Why is there a check mark in the lower right corner of your report?" His finger lightly tapped the lower right corner of the report. "A check mark?" I picked it up to look, and sure enough, there was a faint check mark drawn in black ink. The ink had long since dried, hidden at the edge, almost impossible to notice, as if someone with intent had deliberately marked it. I checked the other reports and found that none of them had it. Could it be a blunder? I remembered the report from the pre-employment medical exam 6 months ago and hurriedly dug out to look. Sure enough, there was a similar mark on it. With that discovery, I immediately called the middle-aged policeman. He took my report and studied it carefully for a long time. In the end, he said with certainty, "This report card of yours has indeed been tampered with. Look, the page with your blood type results clearly has creases pressed into it from being flipped through. If it had fallen on the floor, this side would be facing up." He made a phone call. When he came back, he asked me a question I never could have anticipated. "Did you sign an organ donation form?" My heart tightened. My mind raced back through memories. The conclusion I reached at the end was, indeed, I had signed one. But that was in college when I saw an organ donation consent on some app. At the time, I thought that if I died unexpectedly, donating my organs to those in need might help someone. I never imagined that someone would set their sights on me while I was still alive. Is it because of this? I felt my voice trembling. Very likely. The victim from the same neighborhood as you also signed this agreement. Moreover, she recently had a medical exam at that hospital. The middle-aged officer looked at me with a grave expression. I felt a faint trace of fear. Like the flap of a butterfly's wings years ago, the consequences of the hurricane would now gust through the rest of my life. So that woman's last words, telling me to wait, were not just a fit of temper. The woman who called you could be a nurse from the hospital, or she might have marked your physical exam report. Have you seen her? The middle-aged policeman handed me a photograph. I shook my head. I stared at the woman's picture, a harmless-looking face, even resembling the girl I had imagined at the time. But I felt she was only one link in the chain, and even Kevin was only one link. The information they accessed about me was all one-sided. Behind the scenes, there must be someone else who gathered all the pieces of information and meticulously orchestrated the whole thing. That person knew I had signed that consent form and could still get my medical report. He even knew my exact address and had managed to bribe the building's security guards, so he knew I lived alone. That person had always been by my side. Could it be a co-worker from the company? When I joined, I had filled in my home address. During the medical exam, they were able to obtain my physical report. I immediately looked up and glanced at Ethan, who was standing to one side. He felt my gaze and returned my look. Mouthing silently, he asked, "What's wrong?" A face full of curiosity. Not like him. If it were him, he wouldn't have bothered to point out the markings on the report. Then who could it be? My eyes swept over the colleagues in the office who had shared my days and nights for the past 6 months, and I felt a chill. At that moment, I might have been in the same room as a murderer. The middle-aged police officer put away his voice recorder. Be extra careful from now on. They'll definitely come again. I moved into my best friend's apartment complex. But once the lights went out at night, those fearful knocks and the sound of rain would follow me like a shadow. It caused my work efficiency to plummet, and I made several mistakes in a row. On yet another one of those sleepless, dream-filled nights, my heart began to ache violently, and I was admitted to the hospital. I found, by coincidence, that my female boss was in the neighboring ward. I glanced over. She was in the urology ward. Although we were both inpatients, our circumstances were completely different. Her daughter had been with her the whole time, while apart from my best friend dropping by after work to visit, I was alone most of the time. A middle-aged policeman came by occasionally to check on me, warning me to try not to leave the area recently. He said he'd sent colleagues to protect me, and that if I went out of town something might happen and they might not get there in time. I promised him that life is more important than work. But as soon as I was discharged, it felt like a slap in the face. The female boss suddenly decided to send me on a business trip to the neighboring province. I hesitated. Sending me either didn't feel right, either emotionally or logically. But the problem with the project did stem from a mistake I had made. Boss, I've never been there, and besides, I hadn't finished speaking when my boss suddenly cut me off. His voice cooled considerably, and after a few words he was about to hang up. It felt like a slap in the face. Boss, I'll go. The HR department will send someone too. You'll meet them over there. Just before setting out, I called the middle-aged policeman. I'm going on a business trip to the neighboring province. I'm a bit worried. The policeman paused. I'm in a neighboring province too. I'll come to your place once I finish my work. Right now, all the police, they're tied up with flood relief, so be careful yourself. My best friend said she wanted to come keep me company. I refused. I recently received a reminder text from my close friend. She's in quite a lot of debt. I plan to talk with her about it after I get back. I arrived at the client's company and spent the whole day discussing business, but still without a definite outcome. Back at the hotel that night, a colleague from HR had booked a room for me. When I picked up the room card, I realized the person who had come with me was Ethan. What a coincidence. Our room numbers are so similar. If you need anything, feel free to come to me. I thanked him, but I didn't understand why someone I barely knew would be traveling with me. Back in my room, I put a doorstop in place and closed the door. I called the boss to report the dire situation. The worst-case outcome was that the losses would be irretrievable. After thinking it over for a long time, the boss decided to come in person. It would take 5 hours to drive here. By then, it would probably be the middle of the night. After sending a message to my best friend to say I was safe, I was dozing off when the phone rang. It was the boss. I checked the watch. 2:30. Faster than I'd expected. Rebecca, I'm here. Come get me. His face was ashen, his body so weak he looked like he'd collapse at the slightest gust. I supported her and touched something warm. A urine bag? What illness? How could it be this serious? I took her to the room. I had just opened the door when the phone rang. It was a middle-aged police officer. His voice was very calm, but there seemed to be a few hints of anxiety he was deliberately trying to hide. Where are you? Is that leader of yours with you? He looked at the leader who had just arrived and thought to himself that his timing was surprisingly precise. I walked into the bathroom and casually locked the door. She just arrived. She's at the hotel I told you about earlier. I'm here with my boss. After a long pause, he asked, Are you two in the same room right now? I wondered, what's wrong? No sooner had I finished speaking than I suddenly heard the sound of someone running over there. Do this, listen to me. You find an excuse now to go back to your own room, then close the doors and windows tight. Before I get there, whoever knocks, don't open. Do you understand? A chill ran over me like goose flesh. My heart pounded as if it would burst out of my chest. A vague suspicion crept into my mind. What's wrong? Can you tell me first? What's the matter? After a long moment, I heard the car start. What I'm about to say next, don't be afraid. I'm only making a guess. I swallowed. Go ahead. There was a pause on the other end. The car's engine revved louder. Your leader has kidney disease, and she's also Rh negative. No sooner had he finished speaking than there was a knock at the door. Knock, knock, knock. It was the female leader knocking from outside. "Rebecca, are you done with the call? I need to use the sink." I turned my head. The female supervisor was pressed against the glass door. I wanted to just open the door and walk in. In an instant, I understood. Her telling me to go on a business trip was an excuse. She wanted to deliberately transfer me away. Judging by the way she looked, her condition must have worsened again, which is why she was so eager to target me. "Not yet. Please wait a moment. I still need to use the bathroom." I couldn't calm down. I was on the verge of breaking into tears. Covering the microphone, what do we do? On the other end of the line, the voice was resolute. "Open the door, rush out." Bang! I shoved the door open and barreled through. "Hey, Rebecca, where are you going?" "In such a hurry." I ignored everything and pushed through my bedroom door. I ran up the stairs and straight for my room. But as soon as I rounded the corner, I saw two people in police uniforms crouched in front of my door. Did the middle-aged cop call them? That makes sense. It would take him an hour to get here. Calling the nearby police would be more reasonable. I said nothing and took 2 steps forward. What are they crouching there for? Holding tools in their hands. Are they picking the lock? They aren't police. Oh no, my doorstop and the things I use to defend myself are all over there, and I don't have a single thing on me. The phone suddenly rang. I immediately muted it, but the sound still got through. They tilted their heads and looked over. I turned and ran toward the stairwell. The call connected. It was my best friend. "Where are you? Are you okay? How are you? Why are you so breathless?" Hearing that familiar voice, my tears finally burst out. "I'm at the hotel. I can't go back to my room. They're after me. I'm running for the lobby. Hurry, hurry, you must hold them off." The footsteps behind grew closer and closer. My heart climbed up into my throat. Ignoring his phone, he ran downstairs with all his might. But the room was on the 18th floor, and on the way down to the first-floor lobby, he could be caught at any moment. It's too late to wait for the elevator. The panting behind me is getting closer and closer. No, this way I can't outrun them. I look up. We've already reached the 10th floor. I remember Ethan, who came with me. It seems to be on the 9th floor. 9th floor? How many rooms on the 9th floor again? 91. While running, my mind went completely blank. In the blink of an eye, I had reached the 9th floor. The person behind me was only 1 floor away. How many was it? How many was it? Suddenly, a bright idea flashed through my head. I remembered. 913. Because Ethan had booked the room and told me our room numbers were very similar. What a coincidence. I turned around, went into the 9th floor, and knocked on the door of 913. "Ethan, open the door. I'm Rebecca. Please, please open the door. Save me, save me." My voice had already trembled until there was no human sound left. But at that moment, the person behind seemed to have heard me and came running up the stairwell. Yet the door in front of me still hadn't opened. He wouldn't be leaving, would he? What to do? What to do? The people behind were getting closer and would catch up in just a few meters. No, I have to keep running. Just as I was about to turn, the door behind me suddenly opened. "What's wrong?" The moment he spoke, the person behind him was less than a meter away from me. "Let me in. They're going to kill me." No sooner had the words left his mouth than Ethan's eyes widened. The people chasing us saw the door to the room open and froze for a moment. By the time they reacted, I had already squeezed my whole body into the room. The next instant, they thrust out their legs to block the way. Ethan kicked hard, and the door was shut. Squeak! The door is locked. "Hurry! Hurry! Block the door with all the furniture." Ethan, though bewildered, still obediently did as he was told. At last, amid the pounding on the door outside, we had piled every piece of furniture against it. They outside kept at it, relentless. But the doorway had already been blocked up tight. I collapsed to the ground, spent my whole body soaked with sweat, yet I couldn't stop shivering from the cold. My teeth chattered rapidly, clattering up and down. I felt like I was going to shake to death. Ethan took a blanket and wrapped me in it, holding me gently. "Are you cold? I'll heat some water for you." Suddenly, I felt nauseous. I pushed him away, leaned over the toilet, and started vomiting. There was nothing left, but that dizzy sensation kept making me gag nonstop. It felt like I would have to bring my stomach up to stop it. Ethan handed me a cup of warm water. Rinse your mouth. I collapsed against him, losing all composure as I flung myself into Ethan's arms and sobbed uncontrollably. Thank you for saving me. Thank you for saving me. I was so scared, I was terrified. He gently patted my back. It's okay now. There's no noise outside. They should be gone. At that moment, the middle-aged policeman's call came in. Hey, where are you? Hey, are you there yet? Are you there? It's quiet outside now. I don't know if they've left. Hurry up and come. Hurry and catch them. The words spilled out along with her tears. I'm already there. Your leader has been taken into custody by me. The rest will be caught soon. It's okay now. After a while, a middle-aged policeman came to knock on the door. His face was travel-worn. He had clearly rushed over quickly. Are you all right? I shook my head. No, something's wrong. It was terrifying. The middle-aged policeman laughed. It's their turn to have troubles now. The leader was led into the police car. Looking at the pale, frail leader, I simply couldn't imagine it would be her. Ethan was already dressed and standing behind me. I really didn't expect it. Could it really have anything to do with that medical report? I didn't go into details, but it was indeed a turning point. Yeah, I have to thank you for that. Kind of think of it, you've helped me twice now. Ethan laughed heartily and waved his hand. No need to thank me. You haven't thanked me for my brother yet. I just remembered it was his brother who was ill. I introduced a reputable orthopedic doctor to him and helped get an appointment. I just don't know how his brother is doing. I mimicked him waving his hand. No thanks needed. You still have one more than me now. The middle-aged policeman walked over. Come on, shall I give you a lift back? I was about to agree, then remembered I'd driven here. I'll drive and follow you in a little while. Ethan snatched the keys. I came by car. Let me drive for you. Take a rest. On the car, amidst flickering light and shadow, I drifted into a weary sleep, my dreams filled with the scenes of being hunted just now. The phone rang. It was my best friend. How are you? I was so worried I couldn't sleep. I forced a smile. It's okay now, don't worry. Where are you? I looked up. Ahead was a 24-hour service area. I'm at the service area. You sleep. I'll go to the restroom and then come back to find you. I hung up the phone, turned to Ethan and said, I need to use the restroom. Could you stop the car for a moment? Okay, I'll tell the cops. Be careful. I'll just stand by the door. Call out if you need anything. The rest area was large, but empty, with only a few cars scattered about. The women's restroom was at the far end, completely deserted. I don't really want to go, but there are still 3 hours of driving left. It's truly miserable. I glanced at the security guard sleeping outside and at Ethan standing right there. It should be fine, right? Fortunately, my worries were unnecessary. Nothing happened from the moment I went in until I came out. I glanced at Ethan standing by the door. He gave me a small smile. He waved the grilled sausage in his hand. I turned on the faucet, intending to wash my hands. Suddenly, a tremendous explosion sounded outside. The blast made the glass vibrate. In an instant, the ground seemed to tremble and the mountains to shake. I had no time to wipe my hands. I turned and ran for the exit. The next moment, someone slammed shut the service area's gate. The light went out. Ethan, Ethan. Only my sorrowful voice echoed through the empty hall. There was no answer at all. A chill immediately ran down my spine. Done. I ran to the door and slammed it with all my might, but the main door didn't budge. In the darkness, the security guard from before was gone, and even Ethan, who had just been standing outside waiting for me, had melted into the shadows without a trace. I felt people slowly closing in around me. Who? I leaned against the door panel and crouched down, trembling as I took out my phone, my eyes fixed on the direction behind me. I had just opened the contacts list when my finger hovered over the screen. But the next second, someone coming from the side clamped down hard on my throat. Ugh! Before I could even cry out, the person covered my mouth and nose. They dragged me hard, pulling me deeper into the dark corner. I struggled violently, but their hand was like a branding iron, pressed tight against my mouth. I couldn't make a sound. As they hauled me along, my skin scraped against the cold tiles, the icy contact instantly spreading through my whole body. All right, hurry up and start. A woman's voice came from behind me, and I froze instantly. Her voice was unbearably familiar, a voice I could never forget even in my dreams. She was the girl who called me on that rainy night. And then, I recall that extremely familiar voice I'd heard earlier in the female boss's hospital room. She was the female boss's daughter. The lights suddenly came on, the glare nearly blinding me. After the searing pain, I pressed myself hard against the wall behind me, staring at her. "What are you doing?" "Doing? Finding a kidney for my mom." "Doctor, sorry to trouble you, being in such a harsh place." "Grab her." No sooner had she finished speaking than two men came over and seized my body. I bit one of the men, the metallic tang of blood instantly filling my mouth. She was slapped hard by that man. Her cheek instantly burned, and a ringing filled her ears. "Damn it, you bitch!" He gripped my head harder, exposing my neck. A man wearing a mask walked toward me, holding a syringe. She was going to give me an injection. If that happened, I'd lose consciousness completely and be at their mercy. Thinking of that possibility, goosebumps broke out all over me. Wait, I have to find a way to buy time. Ethan and the police should be outside by now. I just need to stall for a bit, just a little while. My tongue is broken. I have AIDS. The person I just bitten froze instantly and released the hold on my hand. The woman was livid. "Don't waste time arguing with her." "Hold her down, I'll call." A needle plunged into the back of my neck. Gradually, my consciousness blurred. Just before I finally lost consciousness, I heard my best friend's voice, coming from the woman's phone. My best friend said, "You found her, right? You've helped them so many times. This time you can finally pay me the balance, can't you?" The woman slapped me, but I couldn't react at all. "All thanks to you, my good friend. Start now. Chloe just said the police have gone back. Hurry and take it off. We can put it on my mom right away." She laughed like a madwoman. Then I smelled blood. Was it the scent of my own blood? But I no longer feel a trace of pain. In the dream, I returned to my childhood home. In that river, I swam with my best friend and another girl called Luna. By the time I turned around, she turned back. Behind her, only her best friend sat trembling on the bank. On the calm surface of the water, there wasn't a single trace that anyone else had ever been there. The police and the parents arrived. Luna's parents cried with a grief that tore them apart. My best friend said she insisted on going into the deep end herself. I couldn't hold her back, and she went under. But I remember it was my best friend who kept wanting to go into the deep end. I woke up to find myself lying in a hospital bed. A dull pain throbbed in my abdomen. I gently felt it. There was a layer of gauze wrapped around it. Ethan suddenly came in and grabbed my hand. "Don't touch. Looking for a kidney? Relax. Both are still there." I smiled. "Thank you." Ethan waved his hand. "It's not really my doing. That police officer saved you. But he went to catch the killer. He can't come see you." No sooner had she finished speaking than the door to the ward was flung open. "Daughter, are you all right, daughter? Don't keep such a big thing from me. You'll scare your mother to death." My mother pushed the door open and, eyes bloodshot, hugged me. I couldn't help it either. "Mom, I'm so scared, Mom." "Don't be afraid. Mom's here. Come home with Mom. Don't be mad at Mom anymore." I didn't expect that the argument from half a year ago had stayed on Mom's mind all this time. Ethan stood by the bed, wearing a smile. I introduced him to my mother. "Mom, he's the person who saved my life. His name is Ethan." My mother, overcome with emotion, pulled him into a hug. "Ethan, thank you for saving our Rebecca." A few days later, my wounds had healed and I was discharged. The middle-aged policeman came back, his beard even longer. His face was stern as he scolded me in a cold voice. "Be more careful from now on." The same expression as always, yet I felt incredibly warmed. The female officer who had taken my statement before smiled and explained softly he did well on this case, so he went back to being a detective. Honestly, he's actually quite pleased about it. I smiled and bowed to the middle-aged policeman. Later, I had a banner made and brought it to the police station. A bunch of officers came out to see. The middle-aged policeman finally smiled when he looked at the banner. "Oh my, this is something. I'd better hang on to this carefully." Before returning to my hometown with my mother, a middle-aged cop suddenly passed me a message. My best friend wanted to see me. Through the glass, her eyes were red. I'm sorry. I really owe too much money. I'm sorry. I snapped. So 6 months ago, you egged me on to come to this city, deliberately leaving me right under their noses, didn't you? You had no money. I could have lent you some, but you traded my life for it. She kept arguing. They said they only needed one kidney. It won't kill someone. I was desperate too. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I'm sorry. She cried so agonizingly. It was as if she could really repent and change. I nodded. I accept your apology, but I will not forgive you. You can atone for your sins in prison. Don't forget to atone for Luna's sins as well. My best friend widened her eyes instantly and couldn't say another word. The night I left the company, they threw me a farewell party. The woman boss sat in a wheelchair and watched me from afar. Her gaze was complicated, and I couldn't make sense of it. I poured myself a drink and clinked glasses with Ethan. How's your brother? I forgot to ask you before. Ethan's expression changed slightly. He's already passed away. I was startled. I'm so sorry. From now on, if there's anything at all that I can do, I'll devote myself completely. He gave a somewhat forced smile. All right. May everything go smoothly from now on. Sitting on the train back to my hometown with my mother, I received a text from a colleague. Ethan likes you, did you know? I stared at the scenery rushing past outside the window. I knew, but I could also not know. Everything is over. 3 months after returning home, the woman boss died. Ethan messaged me to ask how the trip home was. Nice, very relaxing. Come by and hang out sometime, okay? That was merely a polite nicety. But after waiting a while, that side answered. I'll definitely go when I have time. A week later, I received news from the Middle-aged policeman. All the killers have been caught. That nurse and Kevin are dead. The rest of your life will be happy. Watching my mother sitting in the courtyard downstairs, picking vegetables, I nodded. I will. Thank you. You've worked hard. If you ever pass by my place while on a case, be sure to let me treat you properly. All right, I won't be polite then. Another month later, I got up early and went out for a walk. Suddenly, I saw a familiar person, carrying a large pack, looking like a mountaineer. But within a few hundred kilometers around my home, there wasn't any well-known mountain to climb that I'd heard of. I was very surprised. Ethan, what are you doing here? He smiled bashfully. Come travel. And while you're at it, meet him. Before I could answer, another voice came from behind. Rebecca, how's your recovery going? A middle-aged policeman climbed out of the car and greeted me with a smile. You've arrived. I'm all better. Seeing his smiling face, I remembered what the female officer told me when she took my statement. He wasn't always so solemn before. At least when he was a detective, he was energetic all the time. Mother came back from picking vegetables, saw the two of them, and warmly ushered them into the house. A whole table of dishes was prepared, and they ate until they were fully satisfied. The middle-aged policeman, who had drunk too much, said he had to get up early to go hiking tomorrow and insisted on dragging Ethan along. Ethan laughed and said, Have mercy on me. I really can't hike anymore. The middle-aged policeman chuckled. Not climbing the mountain. What are you carrying all that gear for? Do you absolutely have to climb one? Sitting on the train back to my hometown with my mother, I received a text from a colleague. Ethan likes you, did you know? I stared at the scenery rushing past outside the window. I knew, but I could also not know. Everything is over. 3 months after returning home, the woman boss died. Ethan messaged me to ask how the trip home was. Nice, very relaxing. Come by and hang out sometime, okay? That was merely a polite nicety. But after waiting a while, that side answered. I'll definitely go when I have time. A week later, I received news from the middle-aged policeman. All the killers have been caught. That nurse and Kevin are dead. The rest of your life will be happy. Watching my mother sitting in the courtyard downstairs, picking vegetables, I nodded. I will. Thank you. You've worked hard. If you ever pass by my place while on a case, be sure to let me treat you properly. All right. I won't be polite then. Another month later, I got up early and went out for a walk. Suddenly, I saw a familiar person, carrying a large pack, looking like a mountaineer. But within a few hundred kilometers around my home, there wasn't any well-known mountain to climb that I'd heard of. I was very surprised. Ethan, what are you doing here? He smiled bashfully. Come travel. And while you're at it, meet him. Before I could answer, Another voice came from behind. Rebecca, how's your recovery going? A middle-aged policeman climbed out of the car and greeted me with a smile. You've arrived. I'm all better. Seeing his smiling face, I remembered what the female officer told me when she took my statement. He wasn't always so solemn before. At least when he was a detective, he was energetic all the time. Mother came back from picking vegetables, saw the two of them, and warmly ushered them into the house. A whole table of dishes was prepared, and they ate until they were fully satisfied. The middle-aged policeman, who had drunk too much, said he had to get up early to go hiking tomorrow and insisted on dragging Ethan along. Ethan laughed and said, "Have mercy on me. I really can't hike anymore." The middle-aged policeman chuckled. "Not climbing the mountain. What are you carrying all that gear for? Do you absolutely have to climb one?" He turned to me and asked, "Rebecca, want to come along?" I nodded. "Sure, let's go together." The middle-aged policeman sat off to the side, studying Ethan and me. Ethan downed the drink in one gulp, his face growing even redder. The middle-aged policeman also downed a glass of wine and wiped his beard. "How can a stream stay clear, Rebecca?" "It's because fresh water keeps flowing from a source." A fine poem indeed. I laughed along. After dinner, Ethan had drunk too much. I made his bed, sat on the bedside, and watched his sleeping face in the quiet. After a moment, I heard my mother calling me. I answered once, got up, switched off the light, and walked to the door. I saw him opening his eyes and looking at me. We stared at each other in silence, and I smiled at him. Thought for a moment, then asked him, "Ethan, at the service area back then, what were you going to do?"